Hello everybody and welcome to yet another short form episode of Poddywood. I am one of your co-hosts, Steve Hester, and joining me very soon is my other co-host, Andrew Roger Carson. But we're not even excited about that today. We're excited because we've hit, finally, 100 subscribers!
And they're genuine ones, not bought ones or one source or anything. These are you people.
Thank you very much for being our all naturals and enjoying what comes out of our face holes.
So all of you people out there who are watching this, because we are talking about a god of cinema today in a very short form, come on, subscribe. Come on.
Oh, indeed.
You're not going to lose anything, but you are going to gain the access and the notifications of this show when our next episodes are coming out. And we've got some great stuff coming up ahead.
Well, what are we talking about today, Andy?
Well, first off, I think we have to talk about the fact that there has been rumblings a lot. And
sorry about that.
I know. There are rumblings going around. And this was based off an article that was dropped on places like comicbook.com. See, we actually name other places that talk about movies and stuff like that.
Yeah, don't you just hate it when other places don't give credit?
I know, it's not fair game. That's what I say.
It really isn't, no.
But basically, we all know that John Carpenter has recently returned to directing. He is doing a television miniseries called Suburban Screams. Oh, sorry. John Carpenter's Suburban Screams. We must not forget.
Yes. But while we're waiting on something concrete, we decided to just kind of knock our heads together and just pick out a few of our favourite Carpenter films and just do a little bit of a dive on them. You know, so we've each picked out one that we both like and one that we either think is a little bit unsung or is maybe kind of not as well regarded as the other ones, but we still like. So it's kind of like a mini Get It Fresh. So Andy, what is your favourite?
But I am going to go with the one that I think is the all-time classic out of all of them. And controversially, I'm going to get some backlash of this, but also some people are not going to complain. And that is Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh, you sod! That was the one that I was going to pick out.
Yeah, and go for yourself, because I knew you would. I'm glad I got that first. I think this may have been my introduction to John Carpenter.
Yeah, it was mine as well.
Yeah, Big Trouble in Little China was a film that my friend Simon Chilcott actually introduced me to. There you go, name drop Simon, because I know you'll be listening or watching.
Hi, Simon.
And I remember the VHS tape we had, which was an ex-rental tape that had a line straight through the centre of the movie, all the way through it.
Oh, where the tape had been creased in a VCR at some point, yeah.
And that is how I had to watch Big Trouble in Little China with a line straight through it for so many years until I got it on DVD.
I think I saw Big Trouble in Little China. I think it was on ITV one night. Back when I was fairly young, I don't know, about 88, 89, 90, round about then. And it's such an 80s movie, and it revels in it. And what is even best about it is it's probably his most accessible film for a family audience as well.
Yeah.
Because there's very little gore. There's virtually no swearing. The violence is very larger than life and cartoonish. And everything has got this wonderful kind of slightly tongue-in-cheek feel to it. And it's just a really accessible movie.
One of my favourite Kurt Russell roles, because you think this guy's the hero.
He's not.
Every single situation in this movie, it's how he is so ill prepared for, or completely misses out on all of the big action set pieces.
It's like the end where he gets in there ready to fight, shoots his gun into the ceiling, and knocks himself out with falling debris.
Yeah, as every time that he does take someone out, it's by accident.
He does take out the bad guy, though. We've got to give him credit for that.
The one moment of saving grace where it's almost like he's surprised that it happens himself when it happens.
It's all in the reflexes.
For me, it holds two of the greatest jokes in any 80s comedy action movie. Mm-hmm. The first is this one.
I count to 3. I open that door. We move out.
Everybody got that.
Ready? Follow the leader. 1, 2, 3. We may be trapped.
That one. And a really throwaway joke that me and Jay Oliva appreciate so much.
What does that say? 小心熱油 hell in the boiling oil.
You're kidding.
Yeah, I am. Just keep up.
It's brilliant.
It's so genius.
It's brilliant. I would argue that it probably is his best in terms of being, like I say, the most accessible, but it's also quite funny. I like something which has got a bit of humour to it. It doesn't take itself seriously. It just runs with it. Yeah.
So that's my choice now. What have you got for your choice, seeing as though it can't be Big Trouble in Little China now?
Yeah, well, there was a couple that I was thinking of. Big Trouble in Little China was one. But it's kind of tossing up between either They Live.
Brilliant.
But I'm going to have to go with, even though it's slow, Escape from New York. Okay. Because I think that was my first entry into kind of proper adult Carpenter, away from like the horror slasher stuff of Halloween. But it yet again, his boy Kurt Russell in there representing. But I love the character of Snake Plissken. I love how he just doesn't give a damn. He just doesn't care. He would be happy to just let the world burn. Not because he's a bad guy, but he just doesn't care. And I can resonate with that so much at times.
I can't even argue with that because it is a favourite of mine as well.
But yet again, you're talking about some favourite scenes, and I think there's a couple for me. One, surprisingly, it doesn't have Kurt Russell in it at all. It's where the team, led by Lee Van Cleef, kind of touch down, and there's the weird kind of punk rocker guy who looks like Steve-O when he was still taking drugs.
Looks like Steve Buscemi now.
You touch me, he dies. If you're not in the air in 30 seconds, he dies. If you come back in, he dies.
For some reason, I really like that scene. Don't know why. And the other one is the visual effects. And I've said this time and time again, the difference between digital effects and doing something practically. All of the wireframe stuff in that movie with the glider going in.
And then, all of that was just crashing into the World Trade Center.
But all of that was done with a model with just neon strips down the side to just simulate the wireframe model of it all. The only downside is it did then lead to the unfortunate sequel.
Say unfortunate, but you know what? I have reappraised this movie. I have reappraised this movie and see it as just glorious tosh. To the point is, it's so ridiculously overblown that it is great.
Escape from New York. I think it's a cracking film, and that's before you even touch on like Adrienne Barbeau or Isaac Hayes or Ernest Borgnine as Cabby, who's just this ever-present, cheerful cab driver while he's throwing Molotovs. But no, I love that movie. I do. I think it's a great film. Big shout out though to They Live, which is just that's an absolute banger as well. That doesn't get nearly as much love as it should do.
It's very true. It's very true.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess if we're going to choose one more, I've got to go with either an underrated one or one that kind of deserves a reappraisal. There's something I want to touch on in a minute, but the film that I'm going to choose was part of the cycle where he made They Live, because he signed a 3-picture deal with Alive Films, which granted him complete control, complete creative control. This was after the disappointment that he had on the studio system with Big Trouble in Little China. He loved the movie, he loved doing the movie, but it was the way the studio handled it. He just knew that I need to go back to independence. So he signed this deal with Alive Films to do 3 films. And he only did 2. The second one was They Live. The first one was a movie that gets forgotten about called Prince of Darkness.
You know, I haven't actually seen this one.
This one was... It's what he called part of his Apocalypse trilogy. So there's The Thing, then there was Prince of Darkness, and then there was In the Mouth of Madness. So this was the middle one. And, you know, Donald Pleasance would come back after his time on Halloween. Finally getting released from the Halloween movies for a week.
Who am I playing? Dr. Loomis. Oh, for fuck's sake.
God. What are the lines? The evils escaped. Yes, same thing as always. But Prince of Darkness was kind of this very extremely dark movie where basically it's a bunch of scientists that are gathered in this church because of this mysterious kind of ooze that is like leaking throughout the place and showing up. And it turns out it is the manifestation of Satan himself. And it's very much in line with The Thing. But, you know, this was, you know, a really good bit of body horror. And it's very, very underappreciated. And mainly because a lot of people haven't seen it. The sad thing is he never got to do that third movie with Alive, which I'm hoping would have been great. And he ended up falling in with Memoirs of an Invisible Man, which is probably the darkest hour of John Carpenter's career, going back and doing a studio movie that is probably, I would class that as his worst movie.
Well, speaking of which... You were talking about giving Escape from LA a reappraisal.
Yeah.
I don't think that Memoirs of an Invisible Man is that bad.
Bill Davies just swore at you through the screen.
I know. Hi, Bill. let me break this down for you. When I was a kid, I used to love Chevy Chase movies. I still do. I enjoy things like Three Amigos or Spies Like Us. That was it. You know, I like those movies. I liked his persona, even if off-screen he may not have been exactly as likable. And the reason that I'm picking Memoirs of an Invisible Man, firstly, the VFX for the time is actually a lot better than you think it was.
For the time, they were great.
Yeah. There's quite a nice little turn by Sam Neill, who's doing a little bit of scenery chewing, but you know, it was still pre-Jurassic Park. And one of the things that I do really like about this film isn't there in the actual film itself, so I am kind of letting the side down. But it was the very first movie that I went to the cinema to see on my own.
Doesn't that tell you something?
And there was nobody else in the cinema. So yeah.
They were all invisible.
So I remember for the first time watching this movie with my feet up on the chair, kind of throwing popcorn at imaginary people who were sat there. And just generally being disruptive, but there was no one else there. But yeah, watching it since, I think there is a nice little bit of paranoia going on in there. Obviously, it's not perfect by any means, and like you say, it's very easy to understand why this got him very disillusioned with the movie system, with the movie studio system. But you know, I like the film. I like the film. It's not great, but I would, you know, if you were to put it on right now, I would watch it. And I would watch it and I would enjoy it. I can't honestly say the same thing about Escape from LA, so...
When was the last time you watched Escape from LA?
Oh, a good few years ago, I will admit, but I do remember just watching it going, this is the exact same film.
And that's a kind of fair enough appraisal. I think what I've got to talk about here is something that was raised in conversation only a couple of weeks ago in regards to John Carpenter. It's something that I kind of class as the John Carpenter effect. There are moments when anybody thinks about John Carpenter, they purposely gap out certain movies.
Like
now,
Starman.
Christine and Starman, both movies that he did for Columbia, which were studio movies. Both really good movies. Both of these films, instantly you black out on that he has done them. Like Prince of Darkness being another one. Also, many people make the huge error in pointing to Assault on Precinct 13 being John Carpenter's first film. It's not. Dark Star was John Carpenter's first film.
Oh my god, I forgot he did Dark Star.
Exactly. This is something that everybody does. Dark Star was as independent as you can get. Yeah. They made that movie on what, about 600 grand? It wasn't even that. It was probably about 60 grand.
It looks cheap as hell.
It does, but that is the great thing about it. I think John Carpenter said one thing is we have made the most polished student movie and the most amateur Hollywood movie in Dark Star when it finally got released. But that is the appeal of it. And without Dark Star, you wouldn't have Alien and you wouldn't have Red Dwarf.
No, both took huge influence from that.
But there is this mind blank with these particular films, and obviously we all kind of forget that he did Elvis because it was a TV movie, as well as Somebody's Watching Me, which was also a TV movie. Yes, he directed these movies as well. He also wrote The Eyes of Laura Mars, which is a movie that came out in the 70s as well. But yeah, it is just a fascinating thing that I call the John Carpenter effect, and I'm sure if any of you who are watching this experience the same thing, let us know. Drop a thing in the comments, and share your thoughts. We want to hear what you think is the quintessential Carpenter movie. What is the most underappreciated, and what is ones that should have.
We're just going to get comment after comment going, why do you talk about The Thing? Why, it's his best movie ever, you bastards!
To be honest, it's hard to disagree. I would rank that up there. It is one of my favourite movies.
So for now, before you go, don't forget to hit us up on our Patreon, where you can find our episodes, our audio versions of our episodes going up a little bit earlier than you would normally get if you're just coming here. So that's always worth checking out. And we are going to be adding some more content to that going forward. But for now, though, your final thoughts, Andrew?
My final thoughts is there is a fantastic book available called Gothic. And where is it you can buy it from, Steve? I'm pretty sure it's on somewhere. In fact, tell me more about Gothic.
If it's the same Gothic that I think it is, which is about a young man who finds out that he is one of the key factors in preventing a war between heaven and hell, then this book can be found at many, many online digital retailers, including Kobo, Kindle, Amazon Books, and many, many more.
Written by Steve Hester, of course, and is available. There's even a link somewhere.
Yes. I'll put
Good.
up the direct link, that way Amazon doesn't get its cut.
And there'll be more books we'll be promoting soon that you can buy. Currently in development. Anyway, yes, thank you very much for checking us out on this very short form episode on John Carpenter, just to kind of celebrate the news and get into a bit of discussion about it. We want to hear your thoughts, so hit us up on all the places, and we will be seeing you very shortly for the second part of Mike Deese's episode. Me and Joanne will be back for it, and me and Steve will be back soon to talk some LA Confidential and Action Jackson, won't we, Steve?
Yes, we will, Andy. But for now, it is a goodbye from me.
Ciao.
Yeah, what he said.